Hey everybody, this is the While We Still Can podcast here, and today we're going to kick off something a little different. We're going to do a book club on the book called On Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century by Timothy Snyder. So let me tell you a little bit about who Timothy Snyder is. It says he's the Levin Professor of History at Yale University. He's the author of Bloodlands, Europe Between Hitler and Stalin, and Black Earth, The Holocaust as a History and Warning. Snyder is a member of the Committee on Conscience of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum and a permanent fellow of the Institute for Human Sciences in Vienna. So, the dude knows a little bit about a path into fascism, what happens, what to watch for, what leads up to it. And this is one of his books we're going to talk about. And as you know, we just had our election. And I just want to note, first of all, if we're on YouTube, I don't know if we are or not, but this is what the book looks like. And in the very beginning, it notes that also, I want to mention that it was copyrighted in 2017. So this was after Trump won the first election. And it notes, this is a quote by Leszek Kolakowski. It says, "In politics, being deceived is no excuse." So let me tell you, if you woke up on Wednesday and started to understand what you voted for, that's no excuse. But maybe now's the time to figure out what to do from here forward. So first we're going to start with the prologue. It's called History and Tyranny. History does not repeat, but it does instruct. As the Founding Fathers debated our Constitution, they took instructions from the history they knew. Concerned that the democratic republic they envisioned would collapse, they contemplated the descent of ancient democracies and republics into oligarchy and empire. As they knew, Aristotle warned that inequality brought instability, while Plato believed that demagogues exploited free speech to install themselves as tyrants. In founding a democratic republic upon law and establishing a system of checks and balances, the Founding Fathers sought to avoid the evil that they, like the ancient philosophers, called tyranny. They had in mind the usurpation of power by a single individual or group, or the circumvention of law by rulers for their own benefit. Much of the succeeding political debate in the United States has concerned the problem of tyranny within American society, over slaves and women, for example. It is thus a primary American tradition to consider history when our political order seems imperiled. If we worry today that the American experiment is threatened by tyranny, we can follow the example of the Founding Fathers and contemplate the history of other democracies and republics. The good news is that we can draw upon more recent and relevant examples than ancient Greek and Rome. The bad news is that the history of modern democracy is also one of decline and fall. Since the American colonies declared their independence from a British monarchy that the founders deemed tyrannical, European history has seen three major democratic moments. After the First World War in 1918, after the Second World War in 1945, and after the end of communism in 1989. Many of the democracies founded at these junctures failed in circumstances that some important respects resemble our own. History can familiarize and it can warn. In the late 19th century, just as the late 20th century, the expansion of global trade generated expectations of progress. In the early 20th century, as in the early 21st, these hopes were challenged by new visions of mass politics in which a leader or a party claimed to directly represent the will of the people. European democracies collapsed into right-wing authoritarianism and fascism in the 1920s and 30s. The Communist Soviet Union, established in 1922, extended its model into Europe in the 1940s. The European history of the 20th century shows that societies can break, democracies can fail, ethics can collapse, and ordinary men can find themselves standing over death pits with guns in their hands. It would serve us well today to understand why.
Goosebumps. And this is what I've been screaming for 8 years, and when we decided to start this podcast, it was actually from a conversation that we had about this book. And we're like, okay, this is what's happening. And it seems like most of our fellow Americans don't care to read anything about history or listen to anybody intelligent, but us women are feeling it because we've been feeling it forever. And just like we explained, or we talked about earlier, Lisa, other minorities have been going through this since the end of time. And we are very privileged to just now be kind of feeling it in the way that we are. And it makes me sad that I did not realize it prior as much, but I'm ready to do the work. So,
right. No more, do more, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let me finish up this prologue. So This is the last couple of paragraphs here. These are: both fascism and communism were responses to globalization, to the real and perceived inequities it created, and the apparent helplessness of the democracies in addressing them. Fascists rejected reason in the name of will, denying objective truth in favor of glorious myth articulated by the leaders who claimed to give voice to the people. They put a face on globalization, arguing that its complex challenges were the result of a conspiracy against the nation. Fascists ruled for a decade or two, leaving behind an intact intellectual legacy that grows more relevant by the day. Communists ruled for longer, for nearly 7 decades in the Soviet Union, and more than 4 decades in much of Eastern Europe. They proposed rule by a disciplined party elite with a monopoly on reason that would guide society toward a certain future according to supposed fixed laws of history. We might be tempted to think that our democratic heritage automatically protects us from such threats. This is a misguided reflex. In fact, the precedent set by the founders demands that we examine history to understand the deep sources of tyranny and to consider the proper responses to it. Americans today are no wiser than the Europeans who saw democracy yield to fascism, Nazism, or communism in the 20th century. Our one advantage is that we might learn from their experience. Now is a good time to do so. This book presents 20 lessons from the 20th century adapted to the circumstances of today. All right, and once again, that was the prologue, History and Tyranny, in the book On Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century by Timothy Snyder. So that it's just so crazy to listen to that because this has happened before, and I feel like we're literally watching it unwind and happen again before our very eyes.
And I'm watching people walk around living their daily lives today, and I'm just like, you have no idea what's coming. And I'm mad at you for not knowing and being able to live in that bliss, let me tell you. It's crazy because I actually don't have anything to say. That's never happened to me before, guys. It's official. A Trump presidency made me shut the fuck up.
That is. There's so many people on your Facebook that are just cheering wildly right now that you have nothing to say.
I know. They're doing the same thing that Trump was with the microphone.
So that's the prologue. So we're going to record each chapter, a little episode on each chapter, so watch out for it. And I have a few copies of this book that I would love to give away to you. So if the first people that write in and want a free copy, I'll mail it to you.
And we can do kind of a book club together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, we are really diving deep to try to find ways that we can resist. And I came across it's Resist Project 2025. And I was listening to a podcast about the guy who made this group, and he was like, I was watching the election and it was like 11:30 at night, and I was like, she's gonna lose and we have to do something. And most of the people again believe him when he said, I don't know anything about Project 2025, and it's a fucking lie.
Yeah. It blows my mind that anybody would believe anything that he or they say. I mean, why would you believe anything? But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Another day.
It's a done deal.
That's not part of the book club.
Correct.
But as we read through these chapters and you hear things, it's definitely going to trigger your brain of like, oh my God. And it's going to feel like it's too late. But the world cannot work, or the United States is not going to work without women. So we can be the resistance, and men that care about women. So
yeah.
But yes, we will be putting resources with this. And if anybody would like to join in on the conversation, please leave a comment or a post.
Yeah. And we'll set up a page on the website. So if you want to comment, you can.
Yes, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I hope everybody's doing okay.
Yeah, hang in there.
Yep. We're trying to.
All right.
Okay.
Again, this is While We Still Can Pod. I'm Lisa.
I'm Tina.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye.